The anime studio behind Naruto, Black Clover, Bleach, and a plethora of other amazing anime titles is taking a stand against Western vocalization, as I like to call it. We're going to talk about that and so much more. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Don't pull right down the side. Hi everyone, my name is Jacob Airy. Welcome to the StudioJake vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to ring that little bell. If you'd like to support the channel, you can check out my locals community. The link is in the description. Okay, so it's true. All of it. The fact is that the studio behind such anime titles as Naruto, Baruto, Black Clover, Bleach, the president has taken a stand against Western localization, or as I like to call it, wokenization, because he is seeing the negative impact it is having on society. We're witnessing Capcom, right? The video game developers behind such great titles as Mega Man and Street Fighter. One of my favorite all-time games is Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Played that Dreamcast disc until it started to spin out of control. That's how much I loved that game. And it's sad to see this. Sony, which was primarily a Japanese company, you see them relocate to Los Angeles, and their subsidiary Crunchyroll is making changes to translations. Now, it does seem like Crunchyroll has fired some of the woke translators, at least, and hopefully this trend will continue because we're having pushback from places like Studio Piero, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. I don't give a crap about French. Apparently, the Japanese do. Otherwise, they wouldn't have named their studio using a French word. So, this is according to Bounding into Comics. In adding his voice to the increasing number of Japanese creators who have found themselves unhappy with the ever growing demands that their works be altered in order to accommodate Western socio political standards, anime production studio Piero Company Limited president and CEO Michiyuki Hanma has warned that should his respective medium change its core identity in order to attract overseas audiences, the results will become increasingly boring. Hanma, who during this thus far tenure at the studio has overseen the production of such anime series as Bleach, Naruto, Boruto, and Kingdom, offered his thoughts on this hot topic while speaking with Japanese entertainment news outlet Comic Natalie for their anime studio staff-centric interview series Anime Studio Chronicle. Eventually turning to reflect on how popular the aforementioned Naruto trilogy has been with overseas viewers, at current roughly 30% of Studio Piero's video sales come from overseas audiences, with the trio of series and their related films being by far their best sellers. The studio boss asserted, I am endlessly grateful to have had the opportunity to meet and produce a great work that will become a long-term series that will last for years. However, it is difficult to make a work that will be popular overseas or that will become a long-term series. To this end, Hanma explained, of course, you can aim for the top half, but if you make animation with that in mind, it will become increasingly boring. We don't make characters smoke in order to take some series overseas. We have to make the violent a little less violent and avoid sexy expression. If Japanese animation is bound by such restriction or on expression, there is no way that people overseas will want to watch it. Drawing his thoughts to a close, Hanma ultimately affirmed, works that are a hit in Japan are also a hit overseas. I believe that we must not make the mistake of approaching anime production in the wrong way. Now, you can read the rest of the article over at boundingintocomics.com. I highly recommend that you do. So, he is absolutely right. We see how when an anime studio caves to Western sensibilities, how they immediately start to collapse. They get criticized. They, depart from the manga in such a way, and there is no pleasing the DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or as other people have said, didn't earn it crowd. It's so true. There are these people who they claim to be fans, but then they can't name a favorite episode. They just read the Wikipedia pages or they go to Kotaku for their information and they get everything wrong. But then they want to gatekeep us out of our own fandoms. and that's not cool. Naruto is one of my top 10 favorite animes. I'm not going to let some weirdo on the internet, and especially a weirdo on social media who probably has, bad hangups, lecture to me how my media, how my fiction should be. And good on Mr. Hanma for saying this. And I'm glad to see that there is a lot of pushback for this. It's not just happening with the studio behind Naruto and Bleach and Black Clover. Other studio heads have been pushing back, and there's even been waves made because, for instance, I remember the publisher behind the Ancient Magus Bride, they were so dissatisfied with how the English localizers in America were reproducing their works that they actually threatened to use AI to translate things into English and to do it themselves. And I'm actually more power to them. I've actually heard rumors that there is a Japanese company that wants to hire Americans who live in Japan to do their own dubs. And again, I say more power to you. If that studio does exist and they're trying to do it, I volunteer as tribute. Come and locate me. I would love to voice act for some anime apart from, these woke localizers who think that it's their job to change the content. Now, listen, I have said before that in the process of translating, if you want to say, hey, listen, the language here is kind of strong. So we're going to replace an F bomb with the D word because we want this more accessible to a teenage audience. That's the only thing that's wrong with it. I understand toning down foul language, but in the grand scheme of things, it is still in the hands of the creator. Now, there are some anime that I refuse to watch, and I talked about this in my Should Christians Watch Anime video, that which you can go back and watch. It's in the archive somewhere. I think it's in my Faith Talk series. If you go back and watch that, I explain how there are some anime I don't watch because it goes too far with inappropriate content. It goes too far with foul language, or it goes too far with how it represents evil, and in some cases glorifies it, which is why I don't watch those anime. And one of the things that I've noticed is, like we've seen with the X-Men, how these wokies will come in, these special snowflakes. They'll come in and they'll say, "Oh, X-Men was always one. What are you talking about?" Even though both Stan Lee, Chris Claremont has said that is not the case, and how modern writers have kind of used that as an excuse to put their own spin on it and everything. It is absolutely nothing short of gaslighting, and you don't have to take it. And you certainly, if you're an anime fan, you certainly don't have to take it. It is time that we gatekeep our own fandoms because of these invaders who, by the way, don't even watch it. I guarantee you, some of the people complaining about maybe some of the crude humor or the smoking or whatever it is in these series don't actually watch them. They've never watched the movies. They've never read the manga. Now, I'll be honest, I'm the chief among sinners when it comes to this. I don't read a whole lot of manga. I do have manga series that I enjoy a great deal, like Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. I think that series is funny. I think the action is sleek. I like the main character, and I like his sort of merry band that he has put together in all this. But will say that I tend to like the shows better, and I tend to like the English dubs better. However, I will watch a show in Japanese if I think the vocalization, if I think the localization has gone woke. Like, for instance, if you go back and you read my review of Comey Can't Communicate season 1 and 2, that's something I complain about, is how Netflix used it as an opportunity to spread this gender affirming nonsense that has become so popular in Hollywood these days, when that is not at all what the manga is trying to represent. But no, they've got to do it. They've got to throw it in there. They've got to make it. At first, it was just the dub, and the sub was fine. But then Netflix figured this out, so then they made the sub like that for season 2. It's absolutely dumb. It's stupid. We can't have nice things. Everything has to be infiltrated, even when it's not there. But let me tell you something. I would rather set through a filler episode of Naruto or Black Clover or One Piece or Dragon Ball Z than sit through an episode of X-Men 97 where Professor X has literally created a classroom on the astral plane and is lecturing about power dynamics. So stupid, so ridiculous, and I am, like I said, I'm more than happy to watch those filler episodes over that. I would rather watch The Promised Neverland season 2 over that, just to put it in perspective. And anime fans, they get what I'm trying to say.
Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute.